Do you like financial freedom, or the idea in your mind behind financial freedom, and you also happen to like crypto, like Hex, Pulsex? Well, I wanted to show you something very interesting in regards to financial freedom, financial independence, whatever vernacular you'd like to use. Taking a look at this study, which gives us information on what we need to figure out the portfolio size one needs to live on in retirement safely without running out of money. So it sounds complex, but it's relatively easy. And instead of using stocks and bonds like they did in this study, we're going to use Hex, Pulsechain, and Pulsex. And then I put that all together in a spreadsheet so we can take a look at the example to see how much is needed to invest to get to financial freedom. And we're going to talk about that in depth in this video. But first, if this is your first time here, what's good? My name is Sam, and for those of you who are returning, first of all, if you're returning, I don't know why you didn't subscribe. But second of all, if you are returning, what's good? Now, anybody who does want to support the channel, you can check out some links down below: Twitter, Instagram, other YouTube channel, and whatnot. I also have a Telegram there at some point I have already made. I don't know if I'll have it in this video. But let's get into the video. This is Google Trends. Google Trends tracks the search volume on Google and on YouTube, the two largest search engines in the world. So one way to think about this is, what is the collective, what is humanity's interest in? Where are those things growing or declining? What are people trying to learn about? What are people trying to achieve? What are people trying to, like, are they curious about, right? Because this is billions and billions and billions of searches, right? I thought I read somewhere that there was about 1 billion searches per day that was on Google. So being the second largest on YouTube, maybe that's, 10%, 40% less than that, but still a fucking gargantuan number, right? So I pulled up financial freedom worldwide over the past 5 years on YouTube. And you're like, well, it looks like a straight line to me. Maybe. Check this out though. So there's this anomaly type data right here where it's like spiking up and down. But if you come over here where it seems to be the back to a trend here, because there's also this one anomaly here, we see the search volume as a percentage of the total. This is 5, 6, 3, 4, 6, right? In this period here, there's some down as low as 3, and it seems to be up as high as 6, right? So then let's go over here towards the end here. We got 11, 12, 11, 10, 8, 14, right? So we get to see that if we say down here the average is maybe like 5-ish, something like that, and we see over here that the average is maybe like 11, 12, we've seen almost a doubling in the interest of searches. So 5 years ago, there was maybe one search. Well, let's see that way we look at it, because we're not contrasting something. The volume of searches has more than doubled for the search term financial freedom over the last 5 years globally. That says something, right? People are interested in getting out of the system, so to speak, right? And not that this is exactly what this study was looking at, but this study was, it's called a Trinity study, but they were looking at safe withdrawal rates. So effectively, they use a portfolio of stocks and bonds, and they used historical data to get an idea of how much somebody could withdraw from their portfolio every year to live on without actually reducing the principal balance in their portfolio. So if these are terms are like new or you don't know what they mean, basically if you have $1 million in your portfolio and you withdraw 4% of that, assuming that there's, some level of dividends or appreciation or interest depending on the investment vehicle used, and you withdraw 4%, that 4% is not going to touch that $1 million because there's growth in the portfolio. So 4% would be $40,000. Can you live on $40,000 a year? Well, the vast majority of people in the planet can live on $40,000 a year. You're like, well, I have a kid, so my life is fancy. I don't want to fucking compromise. Cool, right? But like anybody, any normal person could live on $40,000 if they chose to, right? And think about the trade-off if you don't care for your life, right? But we set up two other examples, one at $80,000, right, and one at $200,000 a year. So instead of using stock and bond returns, what if we used the best asset ever in existence called crypto? And we used that, and our portfolio, say, just in this example, right, we might want to be more diversified than this, we may not want to be, right? Say it was HEX, Pulsechain, and Pulsex HEX, just hypothetically speaking, right? How could that change those numbers? Because the returns on these, well, the returns for this would be higher, right, even if you just earned yield and there was no price appreciation. There's an expectation that these would go, well, there's a belief that these would go higher, right? A lot of people seem to believe these could go higher if they launch, right? But there's always that caveat, if they launch, right? So we'll just assume that these will launch, and then they are going to provide opportunities to appreciate and or earn yield of some sort, right? So let's take a look at this example. How much money is needed to retire? Well, if we take a look at this right here, if we want a desired salary of $40,000 a year, right? And remember, so like you're like, I live in some city that's rent is like $5,000. Well, then fucking downgrade your apartment if you want to, right? If financial freedom is that important to you, then change your fucking lifestyle or earn more money or both, right? But $40,000 desired. So this would be like you get $40,000 to live on, right? You just get that off your portfolio. You don't have to do dick, right? At all. You don't have to do anything, and you're getting $40,000 a year. At 4%, right? You would pull out your portfolio has to be $1 million, right? So you need $1 million portfolio, and to a lot of people watching, that's gonna be, oh my God, how am I ever going to get to $1 million? I'm barely doing anything with my life right now. How am I going to achieve $1 million portfolio if I don't even take responsibility for my life today, right? Well, first of all, you should start taking responsibility for your life, period. Well, in this case, if you want a salary of $80,000 per year to live on, however you want, remember, and these numbers, like, I've been to around 18 countries, right? So $40,000. I think one of the last countries I went to, well, the one that comes to mind is Thailand. I was in Thailand not too long ago. And in Thailand, I would go to dinner with my girlfriend, and I would generally get 2 meals because I'm a bigger dude and I eat a lot of food and I'm into fitness, right? So I would get some chicken as well on the side, or just get 2 meals. And our dinner, which she'd get something, and then we'd get maybe like 2 drinks. Then it would just be like waters, generally speaking, because they're not big into drinking. And it'd be like maybe $8 to $12, $8 to $12 for a dinner for 2 people, where I'm eating extra stuff and we're getting some type of like maybe water or sparkling water. Or she might get a soda or juice or something like that, right? $10. So, and the luxury apartment on the beach with a rooftop hotel was $28 or $29 a night, right? So times 10 is 300 times. So that would be $900 a month to live in a luxury hotel on the beach. You can get apartments that are beautiful, like for $140 a month. Maybe you want to get something that's like even nicer, bigger, newer, whatever. you're spending $400 a month. Like, I mean, if you want to spend a lot of money, there's plenty of ways to spend lots of money, right? But if you're like, want to be like, oh, how can I do this in a way that allows me to live a lifestyle that I want to live and not be, you know, working in the traditional sense of how a lot of the population determines work, right? Like it's 100% possible, right? Costa Rica is also very cheap, right? There's plenty of other countries that are very, very cheap. But what if it was like, I want a family, or I have a family and I don't want to, you know, change my lifestyle, right? Well, then you're going to have to put in more work. A portfolio of stocks and bonds at 4% is you're going to need a portfolio of $2 million. So 4% times 2 million is $80,000 a year. Okay? The same thing holds here. If you're like, hey, I want $200,000, then you need a portfolio of 5 million if you're using stocks and bonds, right? Because you're using the assumed rates of return for stocks and bonds. Well, I did one here with HEX, and then I did one here with Pulsex and HEX. And these are, so here's the withdrawal rate, and this is what we'd be earning, right? Just because I use these numbers elsewhere in the spreadsheet, right? So this is the withdrawal rate, don't get them confused. And this is the return that somebody would be earning, right? Well, if somebody's earning 38%, then they only need, and we're not even assuming, so this is what we assumed in this one, that we're not withdrawing 38%, right? We're making 38%, but we're only withdrawing 1/4 of that. So whatever that comes up to be, 9%, 9.5%, right? So we're making 38%, we're only withdrawing 9.5%. That means that the portfolio size only needs to be $420,000. 420. Where does that number come from? You guys can let me know in the comments. So $420,000 gives you $80,000. I'm sorry, gives you $40,000 a year. There's going to be people who watch this who have a house that has $400,000 in equity in it. Right? Like my house has a couple $100,000 of equity in this right now. You know, and then we're going to get onto some ways that you can actually reduce these numbers substantially. I just didn't put it into the model here, but you can ridiculously lower these numbers, even if you're earning these crazy returns, by doing just a couple things, and I'll share those with you in a minute. $80,000, you only need a portfolio of $800,000, 2.1 million to get $200,000 a year. And remember, this is not withdrawing a substantial amount. We're doubling, a little bit more than doubling withdrawal rate of stocks and bonds. But we know that crypto is the best performing asset class ever in existence. Right? So we're doubling the withdrawal rate, a little bit more than doubling, from 4% to 9.5%. But we have the margin on that is so much higher because of the return on this. And this is 38% from HEX, right? Where you're earning a trustless yield on your staked HEX, right? But that does not assume any type of appreciation. So in this case, we're taking a look at HEX, Pulse, and Pulsex. So if we take those into consideration and we're like, okay, HEX, I'm going to earn 38%, and maybe I'll spread that over a longer period of time. So Pulse, there's going to be ways to earn yield with Pulse and Pulsex, whether it's liquidity providing on a DEX like Pulsex and earning, say 10 to 20%. Seems so trivial, right? 10 to 20% on the low end to several 100% on the higher end, depending on how it's structured. And there's at least a positive probability that Pulsex in the future would be able to actually have single-sided liquidity, meaning you could stake just one side of a pair for an LP. So LP liquidity providers, they put up on a DEX. So a DEX is basically like Coinbase, but instead of Coinbase making the profit, the liquidity providers make the profit. So if you're providing liquidity, you're going to provide, say, Pulse and Pulsex, that pair. So if somebody wants to switch from Pulse to Pulsex, or if somebody wants to switch from Pulsex to Pulse, right, you're going to be providing that pair, and you earn that money instead of Coinbase earning that money. So somebody's like, hey, I have Pulse, I want to Pulsex, right? They'll go into that pair, and you'll earn the fee on that, right? But sometimes those fees can be a couple 100%. Maybe it might not be that high with Pulse and Pulsex, but there could be other pairs that are available there. But the point is, you can also optimize for greater returns depending on how in depth you want to go. And the other thing with this 200%, this is also like appreciation. So I factored in appreciation, and these are obviously assumptions, right? And you're like 200%, right? How is that even possible? Well, I mean, if you look at Bitcoin, right, it went from 0 to $45,000 in 13 years, 14 years. Right? HEX here has had a 10,000x at its peak, right? And that was not including staking, which is earning 38%. So it would have been much greater if you are actually earning 38% on this money. So doing, and the same thing with Ethereum, like not necessarily in terms of the price, but like Ethereum's also had like thousands x in terms of the price, went from like 30 something cents to now what, $3,000 or something, 3,500 bucks or something, like a massive increase. We just had a 1,000x increase or something like that, and that came out in 2016ish, I think. So like, just shit's pretty explosive, right? Portfolio size, if 200% is in the realm, right, and we already know it is. And by the way, caveat, like, I'm not saying you should fucking do anything that I talk about in these videos. Like, use your fucking brain, like, think for yourself, like, educate yourself, right? Do whatever you feel is right. I'm giving you a perspective on how I'm thinking about these things. Portfolio size that is needed here, if you're earning 200%, is $400,000 to earn $200,000, because you're earning so much. And remember, we're taking out 1/4. That's what this portion of the formula represents. We're taking out 1/4. So we're taking out 25% of this, right? We're going to take this, divide by 4, right? I'm sorry, 50%. We're going to take out 50%, right? So we're going to take out 50% of that, and we're earning 200%. 1/4 of this. So this is substantial. Now, like, we'll take a look at how much capital might be needed in this case, right? But then we're going to get into the last piece on how you can substantially reduce these numbers. So this bottom section is like how much you need to invest, right? So if somebody put in $2,000, like, well, maybe somebody has $10,000, right? But let's just assume like people don't have much money, because there's a lot of fuckers who don't have a lot of money, right? So $2,000, right? And then they contribute $1,000 a month, right? Not that hard to do. Like, if somebody's like, oh, I don't have a lot of money, well, cut your expenses or get a second job or figure out how to earn more money, right? It's not super difficult to contribute $1,000. That means at the end of year 1, there's 42,000 in there. And this is using the 200% one, right? So put in $2,000 day 0, right? In a year from today, with the $12,000 added to it, you're going to be at $42,000, right? Same thing for year 2, 3, you're 500 grand already, right? And year 4 at 1.6 million. So think about these numbers, right? You probably have $2,000 or access to $2,000, or you can start to earn more money or cut back on your expenses and your bills to get $2,000 and contribute it. And then set it up so that you're planning for your future and contributing $1,000 a month towards your future. In 4 years, you got $1.6 million, right? So that means if you went with a more conservative, I'm going to say conservative, right? This is hilarious to even say that word when we're talking about crypto, right? But the more conservative, or the single asset one, right, of HEX, right? Because you could also split this up and use stable coins like on a different network, or there's a million different ways to go about doing this. But with HEX, right, at the lower withdrawal rate, so this is the 50% withdrawal, and this is 9.5%, right, you can still live on 200 grand a year, and that's 48 months. So financial freedom, it could be achieved in a microsecond of time when you think about it. Because where were you 4 years ago? Were you thinking about financial freedom 4 years ago? Probably, maybe not. I don't know. What if you start doing this 4 years ago? You'd already be there today, right? And I've done a lot of amazing things, and now I'm focused on the money portion more than I was at other points in my life, right? So this is the more of the along the lines of a journey that I'm describing as how I might be approaching this. Just the numbers here might be a lot bigger. That's all. And what if you were like, oh my gosh, I don't have, say, these numbers here, or these numbers here in my mind are just so dauntingly big because I'm a little scared bitch. Another way you can go through and think about these numbers here, like 400,000 seems like a large number, but remember, under these scenario, if you wanted to live on $40,000, right? This scenario here, you wanted to live on $40,000. That's 36 months, or 36 months away. 36, it's actually going to be less than 36 months. It'll probably be like 30 months, right? That gives you $40,000 a year. So that means 36 months, you're donezo. You're like, bye to the man, right? So to speak, metaphorically speaking, right? If you're earning 200%, if you're earning 200% of your money, then you're done in 24 months. Actually, substantially less than 24 months, right? It doesn't take a terribly long time. When we were just at the beginning of 2020, folks, it doesn't take a terribly long time at all, right? And Pulsex HEX and Pulse are not out yet, so there could be tremendous opportunity there, right? But this is 162, so this would probably be like 16 months or something like that, 18 months to get to $80,000 and then be donezo if you so choose, right? But what would be another way that reduces risk even more and allows you to withdraw less from the portfolio, right? Where you could drop your desired salary, or if you just do something to earn money that you enjoy doing, right? You buy a rental property, pays you every single month, right? So then you can get rid of that expense and provide additional cash flow. Because if you provide cash flow into the system that we're just talking about here, these numbers can get changed and dropped even faster, so that this financial freedom, and we're just using the $40,000 number here, but financial freedom at $40,000 could be achieved so much faster, but even at $80,000. If you're doing something where you be like, okay, cool, I'm going to work 2 days a week or 1 day a week throughout the month, 1 day a week, helping a business, consulting, 1,000 other things, writing a book, like there's a million things, right? And I'm going to earn $1,500 a month doing that, $1,000 a month, $2,000 a month. Well, then if you're in $2,000 a month, that's $24,000. That substantially lowers this $80,000 number, so that if you earn anything like that on your terms, how you want to, in the desired manner you want to earn that, like 1 day a week, right? Maybe it's 2 hours, 5 days a week. I don't know, whatever your prerogative is. Then these numbers are substantially less. So instead of, say, something happening in 3 years, then it happens in 1.9 years, right? Or instead of it happening in 2 years, it's like 13 months. The idea that financial independence, financial freedom is so far into the future is just not accurate at all whatsoever, especially if you use crypto. I already feel like I'm retired. I felt like that for a while. I quit working in the traditional sense, 3 years ago. I'm literally making fucking YouTube videos, right? So, appreciate you guys. If you want to support the channel, you can check out the links down below. Jump over to Twitter. We'll say what's good. There's another YouTube channel that'll come up here at the end, and you can check out one related to fitness stuff. So if you care about your health and that kind of thing, you can check out the channel. Also, if you care about adding on muscle or dropping body fat, those are the things that I talk about on that channel a lot. So similar to this, where it's on a little bit different it's a little bit more on the fringe of what people are talking about. That's what I talk about on that channel. Appreciate you. Talk to you soon.